Scoochy, scoochy, pull it in nice and tight. Just scoot your bottoms into the sides. It's okay if you sit on someone else's coat. Do the clicker. All right. So for those of you that haven't heard this, what I want to do is I want to take just a little bit of the lunch hour and I want to share with you a technology that I'm very passionate about, a technology that is really important. As a real estate investor, I can tell you that I've become highly selective and very picky of my investments. I do believe in diversification, but most of my diversification is found heavily in real estate. I have found one thing outside of real estate that I am very passionate about that has crazy amounts of potential. Now, I just want to say something real quick. What I love about real estate is that when you do it the right way, most of my real estate is paying me about 20% a year on my money. Is that good? It means that every 5 years I'm what? Doubling my net worth and doubling and doubling and doubling. And then there are some things that I do to really punch through that. What I'm going to be sharing with you today is not comparable to that. It's something that either doesn't work at all or it can blow through the roof and create insane returns, as in 5-fold returns, 10-fold returns, 20-fold returns. And blockchain is a new technology as of the last 7 years that really makes that possible. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some things on the screen, Carson, to really help you guys understand a technology that is really changing the world drastically. And the reason why I'm passionate about it is because it's actually a form of digital real estate. So for me, it's all part of the same thing. In fact, as I've been in the game of real estate, how old is real estate? I make money with ancient technology, right? It's land and it's buildings. But as I seek to diversify, I've always been jealous of people that get in that tech industry where they can shoot and have a very, very different kind of experience. And I have found a way for me to get my fix and participation in a very, very exciting technology. So I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to ask you to participate on this. If there was a technology created that was actually, instead of just being available to the people on the hill or Silicon Valley, if there was a technology that the common everyday person had access to that could really financially get them ahead, do you think it would be important to know about? Okay, because when we think of some of the really large companies, you know, like Uber and some of the others that just grow overnight, you think, man, I wish I was an early shareholder in that, right? That'd be kind of cool. That is the opportunity that you have with blockchain. So technology is changing our world. How many of you guys found me through YouTube? Yeah, YouTube is how I know people. Over 10 million minutes a month currently are being consumed to people just watching my videos and learning. And YouTube, it's almost replacing television. So there's people shutting down their thises and that's because they get their fix, and their way that they learn and grow and stay plugged into the world is through reality TV. That's what YouTube is. Uber, world's largest taxi company, but guess what? They don't own a taxi. I mean, YouTube doesn't even produce content, and yet they're the world's largest content provider. Uber doesn't even own a taxi. Airbnb, dude, they blew past Marriott. That's all around the world with physical buildings. Airbnb is one of the world's largest real estate providers, but they own what? They're worth more than the people that own the real estate. They own none. Is that crazy? That's what tech is doing. Tech is really changing our world in some drastic ways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a very different kind of technology. This is a technology that says, what if you could eliminate the fraud that's happening on the internet? Does fraud happen on the internet, by the way? Do people get scammed? You ever get those funny emails? If someone had a solution where there couldn't be internet fraud, how many of you think it would be valuable to know about? Absolutely. We're going to be talking about that. Last year, FBI reported $1.3 billion in cyber fraud. It is only on the rise. People are getting taken advantage of all the time. We're going to get to the real estate in this in just a moment, but I need to give you some background. Blockchain is a technology that allows a new version of the internet to be created where you can have verification of transactions and where people cannot commit fraud against each other. And I'm going to help you understand more of really what the blockchain is. It's a decentralized internet, and it is owned by people that plug in their computers that actually are the server for this new internet. And what these computers do is they talk to each other and they perform interactions through their physical work that they do in their computing. And what that means is they're getting paid the merchant fees for actually allowing safe transactions to happen on the planet. Did everyone just hear what I just said? In other words, people can now transact through this new layer of the internet without worrying about fraud, and here's why. My computer here in Utah, your computer in Japan, and your computer in Iceland, they're just some of all the computers that are contributing a part of the calculation to actually perform a transaction. The only way to hack that decentralized network is to hack all of our computers at the exact same moment, at the exact same time. But you would have to hack hundreds and thousands of computers per transaction to be able to actually steal. Do you think that's giving the cyber community a new challenge? They haven't figured out a way around it. So it is a new way of doing business, and what it does is it creates security and trust. This is a really big deal because when I was in Kenya last year and I was meeting with people that trade animals, and they don't have an identity online. They don't have a driver's license, they can't own land, they can't participate in the world. With this technology, all you need is a cell phone, that is your bank account, and this technology has made the world really small because now we can all interact safely with each other. Does that make sense? It's like turning the world into a marketplace where we can communicate with each other, but in a very, very safe way. Now, the cool thing is the inventors of this technology set it up so that instead of one company getting all of the benefit for doing all of this, what they said was anyone on the planet can do it because all we really need is hashing power. What a computer does when it works and computes is it hashes. And how many of you have a laptop at home? Not here. How many of you have a desktop at home not being used? If there was a way for you to plug your computer in the wall and while you're gone, it's supporting this network and you're getting a piece of all of the money, how would you like to get paid just for owning a computer and having it plugged in? Would that be useful? That's what the blockchain is. The entire blockchain globally, as of the last 7 years, is being supported by countless computers plugged in all over the world. So anyone can participate in it. You can participate in it. Still, the technology is in a place where you got to be a little bit of a tech nerd. You got to get the right kind of computers and the right kind of systems, but people all over the world virtually are participating in this, and you can too. So again, they've actually just launched the technology on cell phones. Your cell phone, when it's not working for you, can be hashing and getting paid. How many of you think that's pretty cool? It's pretty awesome. Friends, the technology is changing our world, but I'm with the company right now that is actually making sure that we can help as many people know it before it becomes mainstream knowledge. Because right now, almost nobody knows about it on the planet. It's like this total big secret. And it all happened because I met the world's largest Bitcoin miner in North America at one of my private $100,000 events that I went to. And this is the individual that opened up all my doors, opportunities, and really helped me get big in on this technology. It's one of my diversifications that I feel strongly about. So let me break it down for you. Currencies are a little bit dangerous. So what they did is they invented a new kind of currency that is completely trackable. It's called digital currency. Who's ever heard of Bitcoin? What is that? It is a cryptocurrency. It's one of many. And the purpose of these currencies, if you take a look at the dollar, does the dollar go up and down in value? Yes or yes? And it can be counterfeited. Yes? It's easy to copy. And when we need more of it, we can just what? And as a result, every year the dollar what in values? It deflates and it goes down in value. Cryptocurrency is very different. It actually has a history in many situations of what in value? Can you imagine if you held onto a dollar and it was worth twice as much at the end of the year? What would you do with that dollar? You would save more of them. You would stop spending as much. We would be far more thrifty because it's like, dang, why would I spend my dollar on a cheeseburger? I think I'm just gonna eat something at home today because it's $3 extra at the end of the year that will become $6. Does that make sense? Our spending habits, our world would change. With cryptocurrency, that is already happening. Many of the cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin on average go up many times in value per 12 months. It's quite a volatile currency, but its history over the last 7 years is what? Is it increases in value. It's very difficult to counterfeit. There's only a couple of currencies where someone's successfully been able to hack it, not even counterfeit it. But it's nearly impossible because how it's all digitally tracked, and they don't make more of it. When they decide up front what a currency is, what would happen to the US dollar if we couldn't print more of it? What would happen to its value? We would start dealing with not inflation, we would start dealing with what? Deflation. And my dollar would actually hold more value. We don't mind spending our dollar because every year my $100 is worth $3.60 less than it was the year before. So cryptocurrency is something you need to understand because this is how you get paid when your computer works. Now, by the way, if my computer goes to work and I get paid, can I take my cryptocurrency and turn it into dollars? Yeah, I can. I can hold it, and a lot of these currencies are what in value? Going up, or I can turn it into dollars and what? I can spend it. Digital currency is owned by the people, so it's fully sovereign. It's not owned by a government and it's not owned by a company. It's owned by the people. And when you learn more about the technology, you learn that the people collectively make the decision for what happens with it. It's very, very, very cool. It provides a global solution to sovereignty, and it is a better store of value than most currencies on the planet, historically even better than the US dollar. So, how earning actually works, it's quite simple. You have a computer, you plug it into a power source, because if your computer's not plugged in, it doesn't work. But I need to point that out because if you plug your computer into the wall, do you have an electricity bill? So you need a computer, you need to pay for electricity, and then your computer goes to work, and then it produces a what? Produces a reward. A reward is the cryptocurrency. The cryptocurrency has value that you can exchange for USD, anything else. Now, how earning digital currency works, though, is you need to understand there's a difference between supercomputers and normal computers. Your household computer is a very, very inefficient hasher because you went to the local store, you bought a computer, it's probably many years old after time, and it's designed to perform really basic function, right? Email, surf the internet, maybe there's a couple of favorite programs you have. You have a gaming console, totally different, right? Like a gaming computer, those are like supercomputers. They've got ASICs chips and graphics cards that are top of the line so that they can actually hash quickly so that your computer game doesn't have buffering problems, right? We hate that. Well, you have normal computers, you have supercomputers. Similarly, you've got cheap power, and then you have expensive power or even just normal power. And your reward is determined by how good is your computer and how cheap is your electricity. You guys with me so far? How good is your computer? How cheap is your electricity will determine. So what I want to do is I want to share with you, when I met Wright Thurston and his company Green, he's created a cryptocurrency. I'll tell you about it in a moment. He's hacked this entire blockchain for how to actually mine the blockchain optimally. And that's what he makes available to people. He makes the cheapest but highest level computers available to people. And then what he does is he gives people the cheapest power. Currently owns 1,000 megawatts of power, enough to power many major cities. And what he does with that power is he secured it at 3, 4, and 5 pennies instead of the usual 12 to 15 cents. So he gets the cost of power down to a quarter of what most people around the world can access it for. So on the one hand, he's got unlimited access to the world's best computers. He's got the cheapest power. And do you know what that does to the reward? It makes the reward as big as possible. For example, a $3,000 computer at 3 to 6 cents per kilowatt in the last 48 months has averaged anywhere on any given month between a $100 equivalent USD reward up to a $1,200 USD reward. On average, it's been $400 to $500, and it moves up and it moves down, and you'll learn more reasons about why it does that. Now, by the way, if you had one of those supercomputers and let's say it was averaging $500 a month, how many of you think that would be pretty cool? Right now, it's averaging on the low cycle, and then we wait till it gets to that. When it's on the low cycle, people that with more expensive power unplug, and then your computer gets moved more, and then the price goes back up, and there's this cycle of how it all works. But basically, you own a $3,000 computer, and if it were averaging $400 or $500 a month, how many of you think that would be a cool investment? Why? Because the ROI, what's the ROI on that? Let's just go theoretically, it's making $500 a month on average, and it's a $3,000 piece of equipment. How long does it take to pay it off? 6 months. And then what happens every month after? Now, here's the real estate angle, guys. When I buy a property, I put 30 to 40 grand down, and then I get a $400 or $500 a month cash flow. Here I put $3,000 down, get the asset paid off, and have it produce $300, $400, $500 a month. Can you see why a real estate guy who operates under, I put money out and I get money in, would be interested in something like this? So my history with this individual in the last 48 months, that's what he's been doing. And now he has become the largest Bitcoin miner and miner in all of North America because he has befriended himself with the ASICS chip brothers in China. They bring all of their equipment in, and he finds the really expensive, cheap power sites where you can get power for 3, 4, 5, 6 pennies a kilowatt. So he's created two of the biggest hookups. Best equipment for the lowest price, and he's also got the right electricity bill. And what it means is that people are now making max money on blockchain with him than anywhere else in the world. Is that worth knowing about? I had to pay $150,000 for this connection, and I've already made way, way, way more than that. So all I'm doing is taking my personal power team, I'm passing it on to you because I want you to be aware. Now, there's a couple more things that you need to know about, and then if you want to get in the game, we'll tell you how. By the way, who would be interested in learning more about this stuff? Is this an important conversation? It's very, very important. So Bitcoin is just one digital currency. How many are there? There's a couple thousand current currencies that are all doing something different. For example, Bitcoin. What is the value that Bitcoin provides? Bitcoin has provided an alternate currency that levels the playing field, not run by a government. Government can't just make more of it. And Bitcoin, which started off at a value of 1 penny, is now valued at what? $6,500, $7,000, okay? And at one point it was worth, I think, up to like $18,000, $20,000. Now it's volatile, but when you look at it year over year, each year at what? It goes up substantially. How many of you own Bitcoin or know what I'm talking about or know somebody? My friend that's sitting in the back, he bought Bitcoin when it was, I think, 15 cents, and he sold it, and he's a little sad about that because he'd be like worth millions of dollars if he hadn't done that because that currency. Now, by the way, why is Bitcoin going up in the world? There's a couple of reasons. Adoption, more people are using it all around the world. There's even countries that are accepting it as a national currency. Do you understand that? Because it's so safe. Banking systems are actually making it their new blockchain is their new banking system because they're tired of people getting hacked. Deutsche Bank, which is the central bank of Germany, is putting their entire central reserve on blockchain because it is a decentralized ledger that you can't hack. Is there value in banks being able to offer that to its clients? Yeah, absolutely huge. Now there's different currencies. They all do different things. This is Bitcoin, and you can see what it looks like over time. It uses peer-to-peer technology to operate with no central authority or banks. So by the way, you could set up a wallet right now without walking into a bank on yours, and I could right now in less than 30 seconds send you $100 worth of Bitcoin. All of it without a bank, and all of it without wire fees, and all of it instantaneous. All unhackable. How crazy is that? That's wild technology. Ethereum is another one of the coins that, again, with time just continues going up. Litecoin is another one of the coins. Monero, I just want you to get familiar that there's these different coins. They all start with low value. And if they're adopted and people see value in what the coin does, what do? They buy it and they hold it, and because they don't make more of it, what's in value? It goes up in value. What determines that value really just comes down to, one, is the coin creating a value? Is it doing something useful? Number two, are people also believing that and acting on it? So I want to tell you about a company called Green. This is owned by Thurston Wright that I was telling you about, the largest Bitcoin miner in North America. And he has a world dream. His world dream is to bring cheap electricity to the masses. He wants to basically help people get free power or very inexpensive power. Why? Do you guys know that one of the last major sources of energy that has not been disrupted on the planet is electricity? Think about it. How many choices do you have for power bill? Or is it just one? Isn't it fairly monopolized? And who decides what the cost of power is? So it's ancient technology. It's 150 years old, and it's locked in this gridlock system. This is digitized electricity, which sounds really weird. What I mean by that is you can harness cheap power somewhere else in the world, make money on it, have that power deposited here, and use it to pay this expensive electricity bill and wipe it out completely. Let me show you what it means. You take inexpensive power, you connect it to one of the green boxes. They're $3,000. It's just a computer, guys, supercomputer. And what they do is they actually house it in the location somewhere in the world where they get the really cheap power. They plug it in, and as it's earning and hashing, you own a wallet, and it deposits your currency in that wallet. You can take your money from the wallet, you can spend it however you want, including on your electricity bill, and there's an arbitrage there that's positive, meaning I can get my electricity cheap here, turn my electricity into money, and then pay for my expensive electricity and actually pay a whole lot less. Did you follow me on that? But you could use it to buy hamburgers, and you could use it to go to Disneyland, and frankly, you could do whatever people do with money. I personally see this more as an investment, and I hold my investments, and I maximize what I can get out of them. Right now, they have moved over $100 million of gear this year. And these are some of their warehouses where they're literally holding tens and tens of millions of dollars worth of this equipment. And what they do is quite amazing. They take these storage units, they put them on wheels, and they can plug in 880 units. What you're looking at is actual supercomputers packed in there. They put all the fans in there because it gets really hot, and they drive them out to the locations that have the cheap power, and that's where they set them up. Where are they getting cheap power? Have you guys ever seen those big wind turbines? Wind produces what kind of energy? Clean, renewable energy, but the problem is they've got to set them up where they've got the wind. And often there's problems with phantom power because they can't get the power from there to the places it goes, which means they have ineffective plants. They take this equipment, they set them up right where the power is. They're earning money with the cheapest electricity there, 3, 4, 5 pennies, and then it just gets deposited in your wallet wherever you live in the world. That's pretty wild. So how much value would it create for the average family to not have an electricity bill? Because that's their dream. Over the next 20 years, they want to solve the energy crisis. They want to create renewable energy, and they want to bring down the cost of electricity, and blockchain creates a way to do that. So it's inexpensive, it's new, it's valuable, and with already 100 million units and millions bought every single week, that's the adoption. So in other words, there's so many people jumping on the bandwagon. What does that create in the valuation? Imagine for a moment having a real estate house. The house is worth $200,000, and the market would bear $200,000, and there's only one person on the planet that wants it. It's a flipper, and they want a discount. So what kind of offer are they going to make? A lowball. And if you were desperate to sell and they were the only person willing to buy, that might be what you have to work with. But now imagine that you have 1,000 people that want that exact same house, and they're all willing to pay top dollar. What does that create? A bidding war. It's called highest and best offer. And the person that wants it the most will get it. Friends, that's what adoption is. The more people getting in the game, the more it drives the value where? Okay, so I just want you to understand that principle. If money is power, now they're taking power and they're turning it into money. This is what the equipment looks like when they plug it in. And they get it in batches, and I get preferential treatment from this company because of my relationship with Wright. I don't work for the company, but I'm really great friends with the owner. I've invested really heavily in this technology. And what I would say is that right now, if you're looking at a way to diversify some money, this is something that is a good thing to look at. And if you decide to get involved, it also has the potential to not earn at 20% a year. It has the opportunity to grow in multiples. Why? Because right now, green was just launched a couple of months ago. Me and a bunch of my friends and a lot of other people around the world now that bought the original equipment, we're now earning Green X, which is this particular token. And that Green X coin, it's accumulating, and we're building it. And now as more people get involved, they get it on the exchanges, and then once it goes to the exchanges, they'll come up with the value. The value might be 1 penny, it might be 2 pennies, it might be 3 pennies, it might be 5 pennies. But the more people that get in, 5 pennies, what would happen if it turned to $1? That would be a 20 times return on your money. Does this make sense? So this is where I'm friends with the richest person that lives in Utah. He's worth billions of dollars. People don't know who he is, but he bought Bitcoin when it was at 5 pennies. So he has massive amounts of money. So this is a brand new coin that is tied to the Bitcoin blockchain, and I think it's absolutely something worth knowing about. What I have access to is I have access to all the equipment that I want to buy, and I have bought a lot of equipment. I've diversified there, and I'm already mining, I'm already earning, and they've got more of it available. And so you've got an opportunity if you want to, you can reach out. I can put you in contact with Green, and what you can do there is you could actually get your hands on some of this equipment yourself, and you could actually get in on the investment. And I wanted to share that with you because I think that there's tremendous value in having that available. So we're going to see if we have any questions. I'm going to have Bronwyn in a moment. Team's going to have the handouts. And you guys have those ready? What they're going to do, and then Carson, for the people that are online, if they're interested in putting in an order, they just need to go to connecttoblockchain.com, so if you can drop that. We're going to do some Q&A, but if you guys will just pass these out, they're basically passing out a card saying, what's your name, and if you want to know more, how many boxes could you want? And then we'll have someone else following up with you to answer any questions. If it suits you, get in on it. If not, don't. But I want you to at least be able to say, hey, I remember where I was when I learned about this technology, because it is now the technology that runs the internet. It's what runs merchanting, and it's how people all around the world are playing. Questions? Go ahead. You get a microphone right here.
My biggest question with Bitcoin has always been like what Warren Buffett says about Bitcoin and like cryptocurrency. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just because, like, obviously,
I think he calls it the rat poison.
He says rat poison, says it'll end very badly,
Yeah.
and he says stay away from it. And so, like, when I first heard about it, I wanted to do research.
Yeah.
And
So
those are the kind of things I've
read
across.
Warren Buffett's book. I really like Warren, but Warren Buffett, he is all old school technology like I am real estate. When I was buying up thousands of homes, he was buying them by the tens of thousands. He was my biggest competitor. Blackstone was my biggest competitor in the last bust of the real estate when I was buying up as much as I could. So if you actually get to know Warren really well, he's quite tech opposed. He just doesn't like technology, even though technology is are the biggest companies on the Inc. 500 that are actually going places. So he's an old school investor, and maybe he's right. Maybe his prediction will be right, and maybe all of the tens of millions of people involved, because right now it's not a company, a corporation, or a government that owns this. When it was invented, do you know who they gave it to? They gave it to the people. And the only reason why it's gone anywhere is because of the people. And the only reason why it's gone up in value is because of the people. So right now, it's got massive adoption. It's all around the world. And you can watch the adoption. Every day, more people are getting involved in leveraging it. So yeah, I don't really know exactly what will end up happening. I think that you need to take that into account when you do your education to say, hey, is this something I want to get in on? Is this something I want to diversify with? Here's what I know about diversification. Diversification is all about hedging against losing, because will you lose when you invest? If you want more than the banks offer at 1%, 2%, 3%, will you lose? Yes, losing is a part of winning. And this might be where it happens, or this might be what skews your portfolio and actually gives you your greatest gains. Time will tell. Great question, though. Thank you for bringing that up. Any other questions about blockchain, Bitcoin, or GreenX, or any of this? Okay, we'll see if we have another question or two. Or Carson, if you can see if we have a question online, let's come right here to Dustin.
So what other coins do you invest in? Is it just GreenX, or you kind of spread it out between 5 different coins? Or
I am heaviest with GreenX. I do own other coins, and I think it is important to get yourself educated. So I actually have diversification inside the cryptocurrency world, because a lot of those coins are actually growing quite a bit. And so I'm hedging. I'm doing Ray Dalio's philosophy, where I spread myself over, but GreenX is where I am heaviest. Just because I've actually been out to the warehouse, to the places, I actually I've got behind the curtain access, and I know the team and everyone that's put it together, and what they're doing is, it's phenomenal. I believe in the energy space. So,
Awesome, thank you.
yeah, great question. Let's come right over here.
What's the difference between this machine producing Bitcoin versus the green cryptocurrency? What's the money disparity?
This is a great question. So it's actually mining on the Bitcoin algorithm. And on the Bitcoin algorithm, it's basically producing an equivalent of green X as you would be getting in Bitcoin. And 6 months from now, you can actually switch between the two and have an option of which one you want to do, which is actually very cool flexibility. But what that means is, if you are earning per machine X amount of Bitcoin, you get the equivalent in green X, which is pretty much priced at like a penny a unit, which means you're getting a lot of green X. So right now, I'm one of the largest holders of green X just because with everyone else that started, the way the coin works is they've got 50 billion coins that they will be metering out over 20 years. And they give half of them out in the first year. And right now we're 3 months in, which means that they've released billions of coins to whoever owns those original machines. So there's a higher risk of being in the beginning, but there's a way higher gain of being in the beginning, which is why it's a part of my diversification. And I'm okay doing that because I can also swap it into Bitcoin, which is the long-standing granddaddy cryptocurrency of them all. So I've got the flexibility, between the two, but it's basically earning the equivalent of Bitcoin, but in coins and green X, which there's way more of because of the exchange.
So my question comes down to more of like, what is this idea, or theoretically, what is this invention? So from my understanding is when we created the currency, we attached value to it. So we just created paper and we attached value to it. Now, to create a digital coin, is it just a code that we're like attaching value to?
We are attaching value. That's why the value and the adoption are important on whether any investment goes anywhere. So if you look at the coins that are really moving and shaking right now and going up in value, it's because people want them and it's because they believe in the value they're offering. It's like having currency created for all these different mini companies that do these different things. And like in a massive stock portfolio, right now they're taking cryptocurrency and guess where they're adding it? Now they're looking at adding it to the stock exchanges. It's getting mainstream. So even if Warren doesn't like it and some other people, it's at the point where it's here to stay. And now it's just a question of what's it going to do as it continues to grow and stabilize. But it definitely feels like early .com when the stock market just blew. That's what's happening right now in the crypto world.
Yeah, one of our online friends, Max, wants to know, he says, if I can make a miner for under $3,000 using my own electricity, is it worth investing in a green box?
So this is a great question. Currently, if you wanted to get the equipment and you wanted to house it in your own home or location, you'd have to ask yourself, how cheap is my electricity? And number two, you're gonna have to be a little bit techie. This is not like a plug and play. It's not like buying a Sony PlayStation and plugging it in and taking your remote. You've got to understand code and getting wired and plugged in. And if you're really self-taught and very familiar with technology, you can do it. Those are the people that are using it everywhere. What Wright is doing is he's basically saying, I'll get you top of the line equipment, I'll get you the cheapest power, and I'll make it available. And so some people will buy the equipment and have it shipped to their house. You can do that, but 99% of the people are basically saying, your power's cheaper than mine, your equipment is better than mine, I'm actually just going to have you guys do all of that. And what they charge for doing that is they charge basically 20 cents per terahash. It ends up being an extraordinarily small amount of money. It's almost like free rent almost, but they're doing massive volume and they're really trying to support the blockchain. So Max, really great question there. And if you're really techie and really hands-on, you could actually have your hand on it. A lot of these people are having trouble getting the graphics card and the gear because blockchain is actually hampering the entire gaming industry because they're getting the highest demand for all the components and parts and what's being built out. Great question.
What happens if your equipment goes down?
Right here.
Oh. What happens if your equipment goes down?
If your equipment goes down, part of the whole contract is that they're the one replacing it and fixing it, and it's warranted for the first 2 years. And so they're basically managing it. I've been out to their facilities. They're private. They don't let people go out there. They've brought in a group of blindfolded people in. I brought in a small group of people that came in from around the country for a very private unveiling experience. They basically have an on-site, in this facility, they've got an on-site long-haired surfer that just knows his tech and basically runs and manages everything. So they've got it warranted and they basically keep it up and going. Great question. Okay, we got time for let's just do one more question. Is there one more question I saw? Let's come right over here.
I think this could be quick. So what you're saying is you can buy the box and have the company hold it at their facility and have them plug it into their electricity?
You own it. You actually have the license to that piece of equipment. You actually, in your, like, so example, all of the boxes that I own, I've got the serial numbers on all of them. I get to see their hashing. They're actually just in the process of releasing the wallet. So I've been on the beta team watching it, which is pretty phenomenal and very exciting. So all this stuff is now up and going. They're now at the point where they're getting the wallet to the people. And after they get the wallet, they get it on the exchanges. And the exchanges and everyone involved will establish the value of how it's traded. And that's when people will get their first big cash out or stay in and just watch it do whatever it's going to do. But you own the equipment, and if you wanted it shipped to you, it's yours. So all they're doing is hosting.
Okay, so you gotta plug it into your house, right? Somewhere in.
Or use their cheap power and have them do it. It's going to be cheaper if they do it.
No, okay, so you could say, hey, just keep it and plug it into your facility.
That's what they're going to assume you want because that's right now the cheapest power plant on the planet.
Cool.
So they're going to host it for you.
All right, yeah, that sounds like
But
the way to
technically,
go.
you could have your equipment and do it yourself.
Yeah, I don't want that probably.
Yeah, they're a little bit loud, noisy, not very user-friendly, but the techies love it, and they go for it. Yeah. All right. Hey, friends, thank you for taking some time to... I'm going to stay here if you got a few more questions. I wanted to make sure that you had some awareness and understanding of this. Sebastian in the back, you go ahead and raise your hand. If you guys have any questions, Sebastian is a great go-to. If you're interested potentially in some diversification or getting some equipment, all you need to do on that card or online is just give us a range and let us know what are you potentially interested in. And what will happen is we just get that turned in and we'll get you a phone call back, educate you as best we can, and then you guys are in the game. For me, I follow Ray Dalio's investment system, which is there's a certain level of diversification, and he says look for isometric investments. That means low risk, high upside. So if you invest in 5 things that have 500% potential gains and 4 of them go bust, you've made all your money back. And that's how he has returned $50 billion to his investors. So it's a very similar financial philosophy that I'm leveraging. I've personally learned from him as one of my mentors in my group. And so again, for me, I think it's something worth knowing about. There's very little asymmetric risk investment opportunities available to the public. This is hands down one of them. So I think it's worth knowing about. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Appreciate having you here. When you're done with those sheets, if you'll just walk them to the back on your way out to Sebastian, and then he'll make sure that we can coordinate sometime next week, getting you a phone call, answering questions, and we'll get you in on this technology. Thank you guys very much.
Whenever I'm around you, baby, you make me feel so alive.
Hey friends, if we could actually have you